Good evening, one and all, and a warm welcome to episode 283 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, coming to you live, as always, from YouTube. And I need to start with sincere apologies to those of you who are watching live. Apologies for the very, very short notice change in the start time of this broadcast. But as I said, I don't know whether you saw it, but as I said in the little message in the community tab, something completely unforeseen came up, and I thought it would be best to delay the start of this video by half an hour. Obviously, if you're watching the recording, that doesn't mean anything to you. So apologies for any inconvenience caused, especially if you are in a time zone where it's pretty late at the moment. But thank you very much for tuning in. Regardless of whether you're watching live or the recording. And the first comment goes to Holly, who says, hello, good evening from India, says Prashant. Yeah, see, it must be pretty late in India as well now. Hello as ever from Texas, says Eric. Good evening from Rugby in the UK, says Jonathan. And we've got people from Glasgow and Buckinghamshire and Madrid. Wish I enjoyed any Tom Ford offering, says DJ. Well, maybe we'll persuade you to change your mind at the end of this broadcast. Florida's here as well, Manchester and Halifax. How appropriate. Okay, clearly you can see from the video description that what we are doing today is another top 10, and that also gives me cause to go off on a very, very brief tangent to say a huge thank you to all of you who responded to my shout out over on YouTube the other day for ideas for future top 10s. I have genuinely been overwhelmed by the response. I thought I would do well if I got maybe 5 or 6 responses for ideas, but I've really hardly been able to keep up with replying to all of you and saying thank you. So huge thanks for all the excellent ideas. I have made a note of every single one. I've actually started a document where I'm going to try and keep them in some sort of thematic order, and I'm sure I will be using several of your ideas in the weeks and months to come. So thank you very much. But today's top 10 is a brand top 10, and one that you may have thought I would have done by now, and it is, as you can see from the video title, my top 10 perfumes from Tom Ford. Eric says, I enjoy Tom Ford, but their private blend prices are eye-watering. That is absolutely true. They are extremely expensive, and the prices are creeping up higher and higher, except sometimes they're not even creeping, they're leaping, aren't they? And I'm not shy about spending by any means, says Eric. Will we see any discontinued ones, says Woozy, cough, cough, Sahara Noir. Okay, perfect timing with that comment, Woozy, because that brings me to a little bit of context. As you know, we like some context here on this channel. The context being why I haven't done a Tom Ford video until now. I have shied away from it. Sorry, I've just seen Uslam's comment saying, hi, Jeremy. Oh, no, wrong channel. You're damn right that's the wrong channel. Hi, Uslam. Anyway, I've shied away from doing a Tom Ford video so far because I can think of no other brand off the top of my head that discontinues as many scents as Tom Ford does. And one of the little rules that I've always stuck to with my top 10 blog posts and now the top 10 videos is that the fragrances that I put into the top 10 when I compile the top 10 list, the fragrances all need to be in the brand's current lineup at the time of writing the blog post or broadcasting the video, which when you take a brand like Tom Ford, it's fraught with difficulties, because I know full well that of the 10 I present to you today, several of them may be discontinued in a few weeks' time, which then kind of makes the brand redundant. But I thought, okay, well, if that is the situation with this brand, then I'm not going to be able to fix it, and I may as well just go with it. So if you're watching this several months, years from now, it's June, it's the start of June 2022. And as of my look at the UK and US versions of the Tom Ford website, my look at those websites this morning, as of my look this morning, a few hours ago, the scents that I'm going to present to you are in the current Tom Ford catalogue. But whether they'll be in it tomorrow is anybody's. Well, it's probably Mr. Ford's guess. I don't know. Tom Ford is hit or miss for me, says David, and his prices are way beyond me. Yeah, they are not cheap scents. Woozy says, all your favorites discontinued. Wish you could just list Santal Blush 10 times over. Santal Blush isn't discontinued. Santal Blush was on the website. So maybe that's not what you mean today. Luckily, Beau De Jour and Santal Blush don't appear to be going anywhere soon, says Woozy. Okay, thank you very much. Really loved Plum Japonais. So did I, Leah. That's not on the website anymore. There are so many over the years that I have enjoyed and appreciated, and they're gone. Okay, let's just chat about the brand for a few minutes before I present the first of the top 10s, and we will need to get going because this video will not be longer than an hour. And I would be interested to hear from you about what you think the brand's particular aesthetic is. Now, as far as modern day brands are concerned, Tom Ford has always been an interesting one because we know that it's a Lauder brand. We know that it comes under the Lauder umbrella. But I think what we sometimes forget and we don't appreciate is that it is a brand that was very much created for the Lauder umbrella. So it's not as though it was an existing brand that was then bought up. Tom Ford, as a lot of you out there will know, had a lot to do before he started his own line, had everything to do with the fragrance output of Yves Saint Laurent and Gucci for a certain period of time. It is thanks to him that we got the beautiful Gucci Pour Homme, you know, the peppery incense ambery one done by Michel Almerac. It is thanks to him that we got M7 from YSL. It is thanks to him that we got Nu from YSL. So regardless of what we may think of some of his scents now, I think it goes without saying that the guy likes perfume, knows perfume, and understands and appreciates the power of perfume. And then I think the story goes that when he started his fashion line, at some point, I think Estee Lauder made a proposal to him, or perhaps it went the other way around, to start the fragrance line. And I'm pretty sure that it was from the early days, from the very beginning, that from the Estee Lauder side, the fragrance side of things was overseen and supervised by the inimitable Karen Khoury, who has played such a huge, and it cannot be overstated how important her role has been in the Estee Lauder fragrance side of things for the last few decades. Incidentally, you can see an extensive interview with Karen Khoury over on my blog. If you just go and look on the interviews tab, you will be able to find it a really, really great read. And I can say that because the interesting parts didn't come from me, they came from her. And I think that the collaboration and the co-working between her and Tom Ford over the years is one of the sort of unsung and uncelebrated success stories of modern perfumery. I think the two of them just found a common language, which resulted in the creation of some truly great scents. Maybe some that were less than great, but you know, for a brand that is not even 20 years old, it has more than its fair share of gems, and I think several scents that are going to stand the test of time. Now, I completely have not been paying attention to what you've been saying. My favorite Tom Ford is Amber Absolute, and it's long discontinued, says Keith Montgomery. My favorite Tom Ford is Noir EDP, says Michael. Tom Ford has some good fragrances, says Kim, but you can find better ones of similar styles for a fraction of the price you're paying for the brand name. Maybe I would agree with you on some of them to some extent. What else have we got? I have several of the Tom Ford era YSLs, amazing fragrances, says Jonathan. Totally agree. Kim carries on to say, too many of them are mostly top notes and linear. Okay. DJ says, Tom Ford's current strategy is throw stuff and see if it sticks, otherwise discontinue. Right. And I agree with that as well. And I think it's a little bit of a shame that that's what their current strategy is. There are some that they released just a few years ago that you can't get anymore. And the brand released things in threes and in foursomes. I mean, this year we had the Rose Trio. I wouldn't be surprised if that trio is gone next year. We had the cologne versions, the light versions of the green scents. I think only one of them is on the website. So I think that the rule with Tom Ford is that if you like something, you better buy a backup bottle. And then in terms of the style, well, maybe we'll come back to that after we've done 5 of them. But have a think about have a think about how you might describe the Tom Ford style. Now, I think it's fascinating that of the 10 that I'm going to present to you, I'm just looking at the list down here, several are from the early days of the brand, so from the sort of 2006, 2007 era, which I guess goes to show that the brand started really, really strong. And I think we may as well start with one of those. So let's start with one from 2007. And I'm going to go with this one because it's the one that I'm holding in the thumbnail for the video, so you all know that it's coming. And according to the internet, because Tom Ford infamously still do not officially release the names of their perfumers. So anything that I say about the names of the perfumers here is not official info, right? But it is reliable-ish info from the internet. And so this is composed by Harry Fremont and Jacques Cavalier from 2007, Noir De Noir, okay, which is still with us, thank goodness. So what are people going to think of this one then? I have no idea how to delete spam comments while a video is carrying on, but hopefully I will be able to delete it later. Ignore the spam, folks. Okay, Noir De Noir. Maybe I can actually. Let's just get it because we don't want. Right. I think we've done it. Okay, this is when I need a producer in the studio. Okay, so you can block them, says Jeannie. Yes, I can, but I can't do two things at the same time. I think I may have blocked them. Hopefully they won't come back. Noir De Noir. Do you think it's because I've been saying Tom Ford a lot, you know, with his sort of hypersexualized advertising images, you get the spam bots immediately coming to attack your channel. Noir De Noir is a masterpiece, says Ali. Oh, excellent. Right, so what do we get from this one? Now, I remember when I first smelt this, I thought to myself, oh, okay, so it's one of those Arabian roses, you know, we've smelt this kind of thing before. But then I realized that actually it predates a lot of these Western style Arabian roses in inverted commas that we now take for granted. What do you think of the idea that Noir de Noir was originally submitted to be Black Orchid, says Woozy? Well, if that is true, I think my immediate response to that would be, I wish it had become Black Orchid, because I'm not a huge fan of Black Orchid. You will not see Black Orchid here. I know it's this sort of the sort of uber iconic Tom Ford scent, but you will not see Black Orchid in this list here. Elena, I'm not going to read that comment out, but yes, you're right. So, like I said, this is that sort of Arabian rose in the sense that it's very, very, very heavy on a very clean musk note in the base. It's a leathery kind of rose. It's got a fruity thing happening at the top, you know, possibly black currant, you know, the sort of red berry oozing tart fruit feel. I've tried so hard to like Black Orchid, but I just can't, says Keller Girl. Yeah. But also what makes it interesting is this famous truffle accord. And I think you absolutely can smell it. It comes through the rose somehow and makes the rose feel both boozy and fermented. It feels like a rose that's on the turn. It feels a rose that somehow manages to be quite wrong and yet also really absolutely right. And in many ways, I think this epitomizes the best of the Tom Ford style. We've already talked about how the brand at the moment seems to have this strategy of throwing lots of things out there and seeing what sticks. But at its best, and I knew I said we wouldn't talk about this for a while, but I think this is a good moment to talk about it. At its best, I think the style really, really goes headlong into a kind of almost fetishized, stylized exoticism, where all of these sort of rich, opulent, larger than life ingredients are pumped up to the max, and there's nothing wishy-washy about it, and there's quality behind it. A little bit like I would imagine Tom Ford's own style to be. You know, I think he's at his best when he's at his most provocative. And somehow through that, a certain type of sophisticated vulgarity or vulgar sophistication comes out. You know, I think it was in the Luca Chiarintani Sanchez perfume guide that they said that the Black Orchid bottle is very 80s dynasty Joan Collins, and I completely get that, and I completely agree with it. But that horrifically brilliant, over the top, vulgar 80s Joan Collins dynasty style can also, I think, have an extremely appealing, attractive side to it. This kind of, you know, go big or go home type of mentality. A bit brutalist to me, says Eric, definitely not refined. Yes, but somehow in that brutalism comes the refinement, doesn't it? I can find a sophistication, I think, in his sense. In the brashness, I think it's interesting, and I think that is the brand's strength. You know how sometimes some of the it's sort of the North American equivalent of the times when Guerlain sometimes heads towards vulgarity. You know, when you think of a perfume like Insolence from Guerlain, which is not decorous in any way, and yet is genius. It's that kind of thing, and I think Noir de Noir epitomizes it well, and I think it's great. Michael says Tom Ford's general style, in my opinion, is dark, rich, and mostly linear scents inspired by the past, apart from the fresh scents. American hairy chestism. And thank you both of you for actually mentioning the past, because yes, if there is one decade that Mr. Ford seems to love, it is the 70s. And I think, and he recently sort of went through a phase of very overtly referencing 70s style scents, sometimes with great success, sometimes with less success. For instance, Patchouli Absolute, I still cannot take. That's not going to be on this list. Tom Ford needs to do an iris, says Woozy. Interesting. Anyway, Noir de Noir is definitely better than Black Orchids, says Olga Dotter. Yeah, well, I'm glad you agree, but there will be plenty who disagree. Anyway, we need to move on because we're at the 17-minute mark, but we've been talking a lot of context, and it's all been terribly, terribly interesting and profound, hasn't it? But now we're just going to keep doing lots of smelling. So how about we bring things crashing straight to the modern day? Now, this is a perfume that I think, had this brand not had so many discontinuations, I don't think this perfume would have made it onto this list, but it is just because they keep streamlining the catalogue that I thought, okay, well, I think it's great, and there isn't anything else to take its place on this top 10. So from 2021, so from last year, this is Soleil Brulant. Now, regular viewers will know that I'm a fan of this one. I know a lot of you thought that I went a little bit mad for rating this one, but I think it's great. Patchouli Absolute is a Frankenstein monster of a patchouli, says Kim. Yeah, but I don't think it works. You know, you can kind of fall in love with the Frankenstein monster because you realize that actually he's got a lot of heart, even though he doesn't have a real heart, but not Patchouli Absolute. I'll always have a soft spot for Black Orchid, as it was my first big girl perfume, says Holly. Absolutely fair enough. Sultan says, I absolutely love Rock River Melody by Regime. Oh, okay, you're having a conversation with somebody else. That's fine. So this is Soleil Brulant, which, if the net is to be believed, is composed by Daniela Andrei, which is kind of interesting because it doesn't obviously do that. This bottle design, by the way, is also very, very Tom Ford, isn't it? The blinginess of it. What do you think of the Tom Ford advertising style as well? Because I think in its kind of hyper-sexualized nature, it actually ends up being anything but sexy somehow. It's the sort of sensuality of androids. I don't know. You know those really insanely sexualized images of, you know, usually completely naked bodies. Has he steered away from those so a little bit now? I don't know, but I always thought there was something so plastic and fake about them that no, I don't think I could quite get this the feelings that I think they were trying to convey. Soleil Brulant smells too much of pencil shavings for my taste, says Marie. Okay, I yeah, there you go, Holly. I agree with you. The overt sexuality turns it into something weirdly anatomical study. Yes, it sort of loses. It doesn't have a humanity to it, does it? The black honey, Uslam, you're asking about. I don't know about black honey. I mean, I have no idea what black honey is, but absolutely there is a honey note in Soleil Brulant, which I think is what makes it work so well. There's a sort of roasted coffee note, a nutty note, And yeah, I haven't smelt it for a while, but again, it's that kind of sense that the thing that the brand does best, which is that if you're going to make a kind of sun-heated, sun-kissed skin scent perfume, don't hold back. Give it all you've got. Push that honey note out like crazy. Push the sort of white florals like crazy. Push that coffee note like crazy. Go for the musks. And just don't hold back. Go big or go home. And I think Soleil Brulant does it well. And great name for it, because it is like a roasted sun, a burnt sun. I thought this was great. Boogie Daddy says the ads were as if they input the idea into a computer and it churned out what it thought sexy should be and set everything to 10. Yes, I agree. I find the sexual vulgar names to be try-hard and unconvincing, especially when the scent doesn't match, like Lost Cherry and Rose Prick. Woozy. Yeah, and then there's the one whose name I don't even want to say. I remember I thought that was a low point. The one that it's something fabulous. I thought that was a low point as far as naming was concerned, because no, the brand works best when it actually doesn't tip over into that vulgarity too much, I think. Love gold bottles, says Yoshi, so you'll love this one. Okay, so we've done 2, which means we've got 8 to go. So I think at this point it might be worth showing you this to break out this little set that I was given a while ago. I don't know whether this was ever available for sale. This is seriously cute. Okay, so you open this and you get inside it. How many are there? Is it 6? Yeah, you get 6 private blend minis. Hang on, I've lost my sense of direction. But not all of these are in the top 10. Okay, you're going to have to guess which ones I may start bringing out. But we will start with the other one that is seen as the quintessential now Tom Ford scent that has just, I think, made so much money for the brand. It doesn't normally come in this color, okay? Because this is a little mini of Neroli Portofino. I think this is the scent that a lot of people now think of when they think of Tom Ford. This one is also part of the original lineup, so it's from 2007. I think it's now generally known and generally accepted that this was made by the one and only Rodrigo Flores Roux. I don't think anybody's in a rush to deny that at the moment, or to sort of amend the record. And if only you didn't have to remortgage your house to be able to get a bottle of this. As far for a kind of narrowly absolute summer sunshine and blue skies and beach in a bottle, you cannot beat Neroli Portofino. Woozy says, I much prefer the Forte version, better longevity and lovely indolic Neroli. I prefer the Forte version as well. Apparently that's gone. And I think that may have something to do with the ban on Lyral and or Lilial. But yeah, Neroli Portofino is here. That the color of the bottle that it comes in is just perfect for the scent. The scent is that color, and it is all of the optimism and joie de vivre and lust for life that color conveys. It's always made me. It's also always made me think of how I remember original 4711 cologne before it became cheapened. My strongest memories of 4711 are from the sort of mid to late 1980s, when I remember as a kid thinking it was just like the best thing ever, and I couldn't get enough 4711 and the hand wipes and everything. I thought it was fantastic. And this feels maybe you, in order to be able to recreate that sort of cologne more convincingly, you need to put more expensive ingredients into it, which is one of the reasons why Neroli Portofino is expensive and 4711 just can't keep up anymore. But it's just so bright and smiling and happy, and it's that endless summer that you always keep going back to in your memory. And memory is an interesting one because there is something nostalgic about it as well. There is that sort of slightly barbershop retro quality that it has. Mandarino di Amalfi is my favorite of the blue bottles. Says, is it Vlasta? Did you like the other blues like Mandarino and Costa Azzurra, says Woozy? I think most of them have been reviewed over on Persolaise.com. I'm not a huge fan of Costa Azzurra. Speaking of the Lily Alban, says Woozy, apparently that's why Eau Très Fraîche was replaced with Eau Givrée, back to our Hermes video from the other week. Yeah, and somebody's still commenting about the something fabulous. But Neroli Portofino had to be on there. Okay. So we're doing better with time. How about we go to one from 2009, composed by Harry Fremont, which I haven't talked about a lot on this channel. And it's still around. I think I imagine it's one of these sort of quiet, smoldering, strong sellers for the brand. I don't think it's disappearing. Woozy, well done. It's this one. It's Grey Vetiver. Seems to be overlooked a lot of the time when people talk about Tom Ford. But the fact that it's still around, you know, from 2009, must say something. And I know a lot of people for whom this is the only Tom Ford they would consider wearing. It's a really, really strong vetiver. The vetiver for people who hate vetiver, says Gavin. Is that right? Who said that? I bought that for my dad for Christmas, says Azukitu. Love grey vetiver, says Kafka Zip. Yeah, it's grey vetiver is an interesting one as well, because it very, very obviously harks back to Guerlain vetiver. So again, it might be reflecting Tom Ford's love of retro aesthetics, his love of older scents. Really curious about Grey Vetiver, says Rachel, been on my try-to list for my to-try list for a while. I was disappointed with Grey Vetiver, says Eric. Very boring dry down. Oh, that's a shame. Now, so what I mean by the connection with the Guerlain is that, for one thing, it is 100% a vetiver from the moment it starts. You know what you're getting. It opens with a well-judged but not overdone citrus note. You know, there is nothing getting in the way of this vetiver. So it's not like Terre, for instance, where it takes you a little while to start working out that vetiver is where it's heading. This is vetiver from the beginning. Pepperiness, aromatic quality, and something of the distinguished, older, perhaps Guerlain wearing gent about it. I could imagine this being the sort of scent that a lot of guys would have as the only thing they ever wear. You know, it's got strong signature scent quality to it. How does it compare to Les Indemodables Cologne Escale de Haiti? I don't know that one. I don't know their cologne. I wish I did. Love Grey Vetiver, so classy, says Miguel. Yes. And this is, I think, when Tom Ford thought, let's actually not have any vulgarity at all. Let us just do pure late 70s, early 80s style classiness. So it's still got a touch of the Dynasty thing about it. I mean, what was the I never actually used to watch Dynasty, by the way, for a program that I keep referencing. Who was the male lead? You know, the chap played by, I can't remember now. Was he called something Carrington? Or I can't remember. Somebody's gonna. But you know, it's the scent for him. So if Black Orchid was for the Joan Collins Alexis character, Blake Carrington, says Gavin. Thank you very much. In capital letters. There you go. It's got that quality to it. And Rachel is recommending the Les Indemodables colognes. Yeah, I haven't tried them. So Grey Vetiver is number 4 on the list. And I think maybe we should go a little bit further into the present day then. So let us go to, actually, was it? I'm just looking here. So this is one that in its original form came out in 2016, composed, again, according to the internet, by Sonia Constant. But this version that I'm going to present to you is officially from last year. And I was taken with the original, but I think this is my favorite variant of it. And it's Ombre Leather, but this is the Parfum Ombre Leather that came out most recently. I think it's safe to say that Mr. Ford likes a good leather scent. I'm just counting to make sure I've got enough blotters, and I think I've got just about enough blotters. Oh, was he also the voice of Charlie in Charlie's Angels? I had no idea. Or if I did, I'd forgotten. So this is Ombre Leather. As I say, originally came to life as some sort of an exclusive, didn't it? And then it did well and was popular, and so they brought it back. I think this is really, really good stuff, and I have been wearing it quite a bit, and I may sort of take it away with me when I have my extended summer break. We will be talking about leather. Actually, let's do it at the same time. Let's do it at the same time as one of the other ones in the kit. So this is number 5 and number 6 at the same time, because another one that the brand is almost instantly identified with is again from the original 2007 lineup by Harry Fremont and Jacques Cavalier, Tuscan Leather. Okay, which I absolutely adore. But let's do the rare sort of a rare thing here on this channel. So this is the Ombre Leather part. Let's do a little bit of side-by-side business. Oh, here we go. Let's try and get rid of somebody. Thank you very much. I'm sure it's the Tom Ford that's bringing the spam bots. Right, this is Tuscan Leather that for a few people I know is their absolute signature. Now, Tuscan Leather is very much in a fantastic tradition of leather scents that go all the way back to Canisia 10, which play on the contrast between the leather note and some very, very, very tart fruit at the top, raspberries and strawberries and things like that. And Tuscan Leather, okay, here we go. Yeah, the Ombre Leather, smelling them side by side like this, smells dirtier and sweeter and maybe richer. Whereas Tuscan Leather is just really super, super dry. I suppose there is a kind of aridity to the Tuscan landscape, but I think I would have considered a more appropriate name to have been something like, I don't know, Sahara leather, or something a little bit more Middle Eastern, because Tuscany, no matter how arid a quality it may have, it's also an extremely lush landscape, isn't it? Ombre Leather is one-dimensional, says Bruno. Oh, that's a bit harsh. I think that's a bit harsh, Tuscan Leather has that berry thing going on. Yes, absolutely. Brown leather versus black leather, says James. Yeah, but which is which? Is Tuscan Leather now as watered down compared to the original as people say it is? Why do they say that? I didn't know that. Oh dear. Side-by-side comparison, says Rach. See, I don't like doing side-by-sides because that's not how you would normally experience a perfume when you wear it. But for something that has a similar idea to it, similar structure, doing the side-by-side is interesting. Yeah, the leather quality to them is very, very similar in the sense that it's what I call a tangy leather, an almost bitter sort of leather. But as I say, I think the Tuscan leather is drier, more parched, maybe more somehow sort of windswept, austere, romantic, whereas the Ombre Leather is more carnal, I think. See, I think Ombre Leather was marketed with cowboy imagery, unless I'm mistaken, but I don't think that would work for Tuscan Leather. There is a romanticism to Tuscan Leather that I think is lacking in Ombre Leather. So there we go. And I need to count now because we have done 6. So with 4 to go, thank goodness we've made up for time. With 4 to go, I think it's also worth mentioning some of the ones that are discontinued that I would have loved to have put on this list. Very, 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 very high up would be Sahara Noir. Right, I'm just going to have to do some blocking again. Or maybe we just ignore this. The thing is, though, that I realize that when I start tapping here, the whole world seems to shake for you. Anyway, yeah, aggressive spam bot, a very aggressive spam bot. very, very high up on the list, if not at the top of the list of the discontinued ones that I would have loved to have put in the top 10, is Sahara Noir, which I believe was also made by Rodrigo Flores Roux. I have no idea why Sahara Noir didn't make it, except that maybe it was just a bit too much for the main Tom Ford line. I think it should have been a private blend, but maybe it will come back as a private blend. I'm not saying that because I have some kind of inside info or something. I absolutely do not have any inside info, but maybe one day it will come back, because a lot of you will be aware as well that at least the one thing that the brand does is that they do occasionally, for a limited time, bring back some of the missed favorites from yesteryear. So one way that I got to discover another one of my favorites from the range is through this reissuing business, and it was Bois Marocain, which I think it was made by Chez Amal La Maison Dieu. That's a really, really great cedar scent, which I actually managed to take with me once to Morocco, and I wore in Morocco. Thoroughly enjoyed it. The London scent, which was a London exclusive for a while, and then I think joined the private blend. That was a really interesting kind of Western take on cardamom. I remember really enjoying Plum Japonais. Cafe Rose, I seem to remember, was good. I wonder if there are actually more discontinued ones in the Tom Ford range than there are currently in the catalogue. I wish I could try the original private blend lineup, says Spaced Out. Vert Dansant is in my top 3. Yeah, I treasure my bottle of that one as well. You know, when those green ones came out, they were interesting. I loved Shanghai Lily, says Woozy. Yes, I seem to remember liking that one too. Too many to mention, I think. But we need to move on. And I think what I'm going to do is actually bring one that is kind of discontinued, kind of not. I don't have the version of it that is currently available. I was a bit shocked to discover that this version looks like it's discontinued. So this is from 2012, and it was Tom Ford Noir. But apparently the only version you can get now is Noir Extrême. I haven't been able to find out who made this, which is a bit disappointing. I was really taken with this one from the moment I smelt it, because I thought it was extremely well done, wonderfully wearable, thoroughly enjoyable take on Habit Rouge, actually. But maybe, how was it modernized? I think maybe it was a little bit denser, because the beautiful thing about Habit Rouge is that it just breathes so fantastically. And the Extreme, from memory, I don't have a sample of the Extreme, but the Extreme was really good too, and sort of suitably more concentrated and extreme. I love Tom Ford Noir, says Gavin, and does not have the note in Habit Rouge that annoys me. What note is that, though? You've got to tell us now. So I guess what makes it different from Habit Rouge is that Habit Rouge is more prominently leather-like and drier and more herbal aromatic. The Noir kind of takes the powdery citrus amber feel of Habit Rouge and kind of starts flirting with things like L'Instant de Garlin pour Homme and Héritage or Heritage. Noir has a gothic feel to me, says Spaced Out. Interesting, because to me, it's really, really gentle. I've always sort of responded to the powderiness of it. Smelling it now makes me think of Boucheron, Jaipur pour Homme. My favorite Tom Ford is Discontinued, says Euro, that being Champaka Absolute. Yeah, a lot of people love that one. But do you know what? I think I saw that on the American website. I'm pretty sure I saw it on the American website. So check it out. Maybe it's been returned. It's got a very, very gentle and yet authoritative feel to it. I think at the time, Tom Ford himself said that it was the most personal perfume he'd ever released. And it does seem to have that. It does seem to have a very heartfelt quality to it. It's very tender. See, I'm not sure Noir is the best name for it. Noir De Noir, I agree with as a name, but this feels too gentle to be called Noir. But there we are. Beautiful scent nonetheless. And if you can somehow get a bottle of the original version, do grab it. Should it be gris, says Pradeep. Is it grey? No, to me there's a sort of crystalline whiteness to it. Yeah, maybe not noir. Okay, we have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 3 to go. So let's do the last of the little ones that I'm going to sneak out of here, and that is again from the 2007 lineup. This is by Olivier Giotin, and it's Bruno says Noir EDP smells like every Bulgarian grandma's funeral. Okay, not the image that I was going for, but and it's Tobacco Vanille. I think somebody will be able to check this out and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when Bass Notes did a kind of all-time favorites poll for their 20-year anniversary, I think it was Tobacco Vanille that came out on top, as in fragrances released during the time that Bass Notes has been around. Again, indulging in Tom Ford's love of smoky, leathery notes. Bulgarian grandma's funerals must smell amazing, then, says Holly. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. But I don't particularly want him to sort of say the next time there's a Bulgarian grandma's funeral going, please can you invite me so I can smell all the guests. Tobacco Vanille is a hard pass for me. I find it way too sweet, says Woozy. Ah, there you go. Interesting. See, I think it works really well. But you know, now having read some of your comments, I think this is the one where the line or the statement, the assertion that some of the scents are a little bit too linear. I think that one may apply to Tobacco Vanille. It's become too ubiquitous, says Vlasta, this one. Copies galore, but an absolute masterpiece. Tobacco Vanille is my signature scent, says Keller Girl. And Yura says, it smells like waffles. I don't want to smell like waffles, but I see the appeal. I would love to eat a waffle that smells like this. Fatal is a better done vanilla, says Mika. Okay. Would you do a video on Prada candies? I did a review of it when it was released. I do like it, so check out Persolaise.com. Does it smell like waffles? I don't get waffles. I mean, I think I get the hay-like quality of tobacco, and it definitely becomes more vanillic as it goes along. But this is in that kind of grey vetiver sophisticated area. I should imagine somebody who wears grey vetiver would be able to pull this off extremely well too. Tobacco Vanille hype is second only to Aventus. Oh gosh, okay, let's not get into that discussion now. When there are tobaccos like Tabatabu, says Woozy, and Ombre Narguilé, I see no reason to spend that much on Tobacco Vanille. Okay, I can't remember Tabatabu off the top of my head, the smell of it, but the Hermès that you mentioned is a bit different because it's got that apple shisha thing happening here, which I don't particularly detect in this one. This really is about the interplay of the sort of hay-like, dry, outdoorsy quality of tobacco, the sweetness of it, the honey quality of it, with the smoky, resinous, balsamic aspects of vanilla. I think it's pretty good stuff. I think it works extremely well. And I think I'm going to try and wear it more often. The one thing, you know, smelling these now, I'm thinking I don't wear these ones often enough. I've been wearing Ombre Leather for a bit, but I don't wear Noir De Noir anywhere near often enough. I don't wear the Noir anywhere near often enough. Maybe it's because I'm also trying to save it. But anyway, we're down to the last two. So this one is a recent-ish one from 2019 by Antoine Maisondieu, except that I don't believe that it's in this bottle anymore, so I suppose I have a kind of original formulation of it. It's Beau De Jour, which really, really is Tom Ford saying, did anybody say the 70s? Don't forget he also had the Fougère d'Argent, and what was the other Fougère? I can't remember now, but the two of the Fougères that came out that were real 70s throwbacks and did it very well. But Beau De Jour is, let's smell it again now, actually. Fougère Platine, thank you very much, Rosie. Fougère d'Argent, Fougère Platine. This is so Beau De Jour is just total 1960s, 1970s throwback, complete barbershop, that really great interplay between the lavender and mosses and herbs. And I need to block somebody again. This is ridiculous. Is this going to happen now? More and more as we do this. Hang on, why do I not have the option to... Here we go. Apologies for this, folks, but I promise it's I've got nothing to do with this. It's got a real old world charm about it, in a way that I don't think any of the other Tom Ford retro scents achieved. So Patchouli Absolu, I don't think they did. The Fougères came close, but they didn't do it. And I hope it sticks around. That just smelling it now, where Fougères just start getting it hairy chested, and you think, okay, is this going to be too much? No, come on, let's just do it. Let's just go with it. It plays that line extremely well. And when you compare it with something like Frédéric Malle, Geranium pour Monsieur, which also is a fougère, you see that Frédéric Malle wanted his to be super clean, really sort of clean cut, extremely well behaved, whereas Beau De Jour definitely flirts with a kind of naughtiness, and that's there in the name as well. Beau De Jour, Fils de Joie, Tom Ford, and Serge Lutens have the same root for name inspiration. You may be right. The lavender in this is similar to Music for a While, says Pradeep. Oh, I hadn't made that connection, but then I haven't smelled Music for a While for a while. Ha ha ha. Did you see what I did there? Music for a While is Beau De Jour after too many pineapple cocktails. Yeah, because it's the pineapple that is just what... See, I could never take Music for a While, but maybe I may need to resmell it. There are so many barbershops, says Bruno. Okay, and the last one, regular viewers will know what is coming up, because there is no way that I could leave this off the list. I do check the Tom Ford website regularly to make sure that this is still there, because this is one for which I cannot be without a backup bottle. And you will see why when I show you how much is, or how little is left in this one. Look, this is how much I love this stuff, okay? And there is a backup bottle, and it's Santal Blush. I think it goes without saying that this is my favorite Tom Ford. And this one, just to give a name check, to Jan Vanier, the genius Jan Vanier, who gave us this. This is from 2011. Do you have a 250 ml of it, says Woozy? No, I don't have any 250 ml of any Tom Ford. I mean, I wouldn't say no to one, but I'm not going to be spending that sort of money on it. Santal Blush, of course it is. And my Santal Blush story is interesting, because I didn't actually fall in love with it to start with. I remember when I reviewed it, my review of it over on Persolaise.com wasn't lukewarm, but it wasn't wildly enthusiastic either. I never knew Antoine Maisondieu did Beau de Jour. Sad that it's not listed on Fragrantica. What happened to Lavender Extreme, says Bruno? Not on the list, not on the list. Is Santal Blush a synthetic sandalwood, or is it mostly natural sandalwood, says Woozy? I don't know, but whatever Jan Vanier did here, he did a fantastic job. So yeah, my story was that I started reaching for it and started wearing it more and more and more. And then there was that kind of tipping point where I just thought, this stuff is genius. I can never be without a bottle of this. I just love how aware of it I am when I wear it. You know that compliments are not an issue on this channel, but for some reason, every single time I wear it, somebody will say, wow, what is that? And even people who will remain nameless because they work in the industry, people who actually know sandalwood extremely well, have smelt it on me and said, what is that amazing sandalwood scent? Because it smells fantastic on you. And then I say Tom Ford Santal Blush, and they'll go, what? So who knows? Maybe it's a body chemistry thing. I don't know. And then, as I say, I just found layer after layer after layer of genius in it. And I think what makes it interesting is that even though people immediately read it as a sandalwood scent, it's also so not a sandalwood scent, because it's quite big, it's quite loud, it's quite out there, it's got a huge sillage, which sandalwood as a material doesn't necessarily have. And I think I've said this on this channel before, that Sandalwood is often described as being smoky, and that's actually, if we're being, strictly accurate, it's an incorrect description, because sandalwood is not smoky. Sandalwood is woody, but a really good quality sandalwood is also really quite gentle and milky and creamy and white, and it has all those sorts of qualities. But somehow what Jan Vanier has done in this perfume is that he's convinced you, or me at least anyway, that if sandalwood were really, really big and larger than life and smoky and fireplacey, this is what it would smell like. And so it's an authentic, genuine, convincing sandalwood, and yet it also presents these, if you like, fictional facets of sandalwood that somehow work perfectly and are totally convincing within this context. The blush side of the name I've never really understood. Maybe there's a touch of a sort of roasted, burnt quality to it that might start heading towards redness. I've never got the blush thing, and I don't like the fact that, or I've never been sort of interested in the fact that it maybe presents the scent as being somehow feminine. I mean, obviously not that men don't blush, but you know what I mean. But it's just genius, and every single time I smell it, I seem to find something new in it. And please, 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 if anybody from Tom Ford or Estee Lauder or Karen Curry are watching, do not ever discontinue this stuff. And if one day for some reason you have to, please give me a heads up so that I can order a few bottles, because I personally don't ever want to be without this stuff. I would never have described sandalwood as smoky either, says Maudlin. Creamy, much more. I think of a deep beige color, if that makes sense. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And here you do get that beige color, but you also get coils of smoke, tendrils of smoke, and you get spices like cardamom, and you get a rosy inflection, and you get leatheriness as well, which goes well with the sandalwood. It's beautiful. It's really, really beautiful, and it also always makes me think of India, and it particularly makes me think of Mumbai, in the sort of area of the near the Colaba Causeway, where you've got all of the stands, selling all sorts of different things. I don't know why. I don't know what was going on at that moment that fixated that place, or connected that place with this scent in my head. But it always makes me think of India. Okay, I think we're done. I think we're good. Thank you very much for tuning in to this top 10. And once again, thank you for all of the fantastic top 10 ideas. I'm sure you will be seeing several of them in the weeks and months to come. But until then, thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do consider doing so. And you will also find ways to support my work using a link to Ko-fi down in the video description below. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Be good, and I will see you again very soon. Bye now.